Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here, Indy Star Pacers beat writer, with our latest Journal Sentinel crossover video with Jim Ozarski, Journal Sentinel beat writer for the Milwaukee Bucks. At Gainbridge Fieldhouse after Game 3, wild, crazy basketball game. Pacers pulled it off 121-118. Just had a big 19-point lead, managed to blow that, go into overtime on thanks to some sensational shooting by Khris Middleton. But at the end, Tyrese Haliburton throws up a floater, draws a foul, converts, and ends up with a triple-double on a night when he was 1 of 12 for 3. Really kind of that in itself kind of captures the Pacers' evening. Basically, it was a lot of sort of battling through things. A lot of stuff that didn't work. Shooting was bad overall. I think they were maybe like 10 of 39, somewhere on that range. Haliburton was 1 of 12 for 3, and I think 8 of 22 from the field. A lot just wasn't going right. He ended up having a triple-double, I think 18 points, 16 assists, 10 rebounds. He never crashes like that. He had 5 offensive rebounds, more than he had all year. And a lot of other things like that. Aaron Nesmith hits a huge 3 after he was 0 for 6 to that point. They, at one point, had 5 offensive rebounds on 1 possession. Didn't score at the end of that possession. Ended up missing 6 shots, but that was sort of how they played. They ended up with 32 second chance points. A lot of scrapping, a lot of clawing, and managed to lose an entire lead, but hold on to it and pull it off. So this obviously, again, puts the Pacers up 2-1. But there's some big news coming from the Bucks side of it. Obviously, Giannis has been out, and there's more injury stuff going on. Just what's the latest on this kind of injury-riddled team?
Yeah, Damian Lillard goes down with what looked like a really scary left knee injury in the first quarter. Pascal Siakam stepped on his foot as he was landing. He said the knee twisted up a little bit. Goes back to the locker room, comes out, checks back in, plays. Doesn't have a great shooting night, but actually maybe the bigger news out of that, Dustin, is he said he re-aggravated an Achilles injury in the final seconds of the fourth quarter. He said he had no explosiveness, was essentially a decoy in overtime. No shots, 1 rebound. And so we'll see. I mean, he said, hey, the plan is to be ready to go for Sunday, but it took him a week to get back into a groove after actually injuring that Achilles in the regular season finale. Khris Middleton, yes, game time decision, right. Ends up playing 40 plus, 40 plus minutes, playoff career high 42 points, 10 rebounds. Was the offense in overtime, and his last 3-point attempt after Tyrese makes that 3-point play a little short. We'll see. He needs some treatment again too to go in 2 days. Obviously, Giannis is the big question. Doc Rivers said flatly after the game, Dustin, he's like, he's only playing if he's healthy. So this goes back to what we were saying. For Giannis, it's really a can he or can't he. I really don't think this is the Pacers could go up 3-1 and the math would be really bad. I think, Dustin, the Bucks leave here knowing they can win on this court, particularly because they were able to change the rhythm of the game.
They did.
Unlike Game 2, where the Pacers just found their rhythm and just kept going, the Bucks at halftime flipped that around. Bobby Portis was big. Middleton was big with that.
Sure was.
To just slow it down and get back into the game doing what they do. I think for the Bucks, regardless, look, if those 2 guys are hurt, Khris and Dame meeting
on top of
Giannis, they're not going to have enough scoring. But let's assume those 2 guys can go. I think going into Game 4, that's why the Bucks feel they can get out of here with a split.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I think you've seen sort of the beginnings of their way of adjusting and their way of changing the game, and now the Pacers are in a position of they've just barely hung on for dear life, and they have some momentum, and obviously there's just a high of winning a game like that, but there's also seeing that they can come in on your home court and take a 19-point lead away from you, and so that cost them some things, and just again, like you said, they were able to change the style of play. They weren't able to just do whatever it was they want to do in terms of running down the floor. Just seemed like a lot of cases, the Pacers were like 1 step away from having a shot that they wanted, and then sort of kept moving it around the perimeter, and this was a night when the perimeter was not good for them, did not treat them well, and so they got a lot of some clean looks or clean-ish looks and weren't able to do anything about it, and so that I think just really started to spiral, and that's where you saw that lead really fall apart, is when they started settling for threes or felt like they had to settle for threes, and missed those shots, and no matter how many, they would get a couple offensive rebounds, sometimes still not score the basketball, so you could see that it became a lot harder for them to score in the paint, something they'd done pretty well, did really well in Game 2, not nearly as well in Game 3, and that's something that they need to really do well. Is the Pacers need to find a way to get the ball to the rim, and that's when everything else opens up for them. When they can't do that, then they're forced to take outside shots. They're just okay at that piece of it, and it goes pretty far sideways. I mean, what's your take as to where this thing stands right now? I mean, like where's your,
as we record this, it's really all about the health of, let's just go with the two players that have played, and that's Damian Lillard and Khris Middleton. I mean, Dame said he had no explosiveness. I mean, he was a non-factor in overtime with that Achilles, and as he said, that's a part of the body. I don't think they're worrying about like a rupture there, Dustin. That wasn't the feel, but he's like, you either can or can't move, and there's really nothing you could do about it. Like, it's not a muscle or a cramp or a bruise, or like, not to minimize Khris Middleton's sprained ankle, but there's at least treatment for that, and things they can do to get the swelling down and the circulation moving. Dustin, really, hate to say it, it's really about where do those two guys stand going into Game 4. If Giannis is cleared, obviously that could tilt the access of that in a big way. But until we know that, I think it's those two guys, Dustin, is really just wait and see how they get to Game 4 in the evening on Sunday.
Right. We'll have all that news for you. Obviously, we'll continue to follow this. That's what this series has been like. It's just chasing some injury reports and whatnot, and things change from game to game. But so keep checking us out. Thanks for following.